Call the meeting to order. Square. Quincylam Nala. Welcome. It's nice to see you. It's with great respect and humility that we acknowledge and honor the lands of the Snuneymuxw people. The Snuneymuxw people maintain a profound, unique, and spiritual connection to the land through ageless traditions, teachings, stewardship, and expressions of reciprocity. So I'll move on to item 2 in our agenda, transfer of items to open meeting. So I'm pleased to advise that the Board of Education in an in-camera meeting held tonight adopted a bylaw to allow the acquisition of land adjacent to Bayview Elementary. The final acquisition is subject to a number of conditions, and the completion of the transaction will be reported to the board in a future meeting. Moving on to additions, deletions, and changes in order, I'd like to propose that we move item number 10.1, our guests this evening, so they're not waiting for us while we do our business, up under item 6.1, just after we approve the agenda. Any other additions, deletions, or changes in order? Seeking none, I would move or request a motion to adopt the agenda as amended. Moved by Trustee Lee. Seconded by Trustee Rokeby. All in favor? Carried. Excellent. We'll move on to our distinguished guests this evening. And what I'll do is just welcome, and I really hope I pronounce your name correctly, Diane Delage, thank you, the music teacher from Frank J. Ney and her students, amazing, who are here to provide some holiday entertainment for us. So thank you very much for coming, and parents as well. Thank you.
I invited the grade 3 and 7 students to come and join a choir to sing for 5 days and practice so that we can lead the rest of the school for this week. First thing in the morning, we had over 50 kids arrive. And I think you'll understand why I got a little bit excited when I heard them sing, and was hopeful that we could share this joy with you folks. So thank you for having me. Please join along.
Take to the throne, hear one voice open say, oh, the guilty go, having the way that go from God to free, making spirits bright, but it is to ride and sing this plenty God tonight. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. And jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
Yeah.
Rocking around the Christmas tree and the far beyond. Mistletoe hung where you can see every mouthful of ice sun. Rocking around the Christmas tree and the Christmas spirit ring. Later we'll have some pumpkin pie and we'll do some caroling. You will get a feeling when you hear voices sing, sweet holiday, the bells and holly rocking around the Christmas tree and happy holiday. Everyone's dancing merrily in the new old-fashioned way. Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell rock. Jingle bells swing and jingle bells ring. Snowing and blowing up the sleigh. Jingle, jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell rock. Jingle bells chime, jingle bells chime. Dancing and prancing, jingle bells swing. In the frosty air. It's a right time to rock the night. Jingle bells, it's a fun time to go riding in a one-horse sleigh. Giddy up, jingle horse, pick up your feet. Jingle around the block. It's Santa Mingle in the jingling beats. That's the jingle bell rock. Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell rock. Jingle bells chime in jingle bells time. Dancing and prancing in Jingle Bell Square. In the frosty air. What a bright time, it's a right time to rock the night away. Jingle bell time, it's a fun time to go riding in a one-horse sleigh. Giddy up, jingle horse, pick up your feet. Jingle around the block. It's Santa Mingle and the jingling beat. That's the jingle bell. That's the jingle bell. That's the jingle bell rock.
Who's in Belgium?
Oh, yeah.
How do you franchise? It goes cat, cat, over, under, cat, cat. Right, okay, you're
So.
I recommend Cincinnati. show us some way. The reindeer jive. Catch your dancer, princer, vixen, blue. Cupid, daughter, Blitzen, too. It's just like we're doing the reindeer jive. Reindeer jive. Reindeer jive. Reindeer jive. Reindeer jive. Dear me, the clouds. Dear child.
We got something for you. He's using direct. Yeah. That's why I don't get it. get some.
We need to do that
exercise.
more often. Just that the energy and positivity.
Second that motion.
I'll just give Mark a minute and then we will continue on with our agenda.
May I make a comment? Yeah, I just wanted, thank staff for being prepared to take care of our guests so well. They were fantastic for entertainment, and the little treat at the end was a real bonus. So thank you very much for making our guests feel so welcome.
Board of Education. Was at home, my mic was not turned on. I do have a seconder, Trustee Robinson. Any comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to the section 72.3 report. We do have a motion that reads as follows: that the section 7.2.3 report from the special closed board meeting of Board of Education meeting on November 9th, 2022, and the closed Board of Education meeting held on November 23rd, 2022 be received. Do we have a mover? Trustee Robinson, second. Seconded by Trustee Pellegrin. Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item 9, announcements and reminders. We have the Education Committee meeting scheduled for January 4th, 2023. The Business Committee meeting scheduled for January 11th, 2023. Board of Education, our next meeting is January 25th, 2023. And just a reminder that the last day of school before winter break is December 16th, and that schools reopen on January 23rd. Did I say 23rd? My apologies. January 3rd, 2023. I do like giving those students and stuff a break, but maybe not that much. Santa chair, there we go. I'm in a good mood tonight. Okay, so we will move on to item 10, correspondence.
I think the thinking was, sorry, if just the board.
It's
the discussion.
Okay. Our Secretary Treasurer has advised that we're probably best to move this particular item under 11.2 under the prom ceremonies item. If we're all okay with that, we'll do that. Thank you. So we'll move on to committee reports. Trustee Bailey, or sorry, Brozovic, is she? Okay. Okay, thank you.
Chair, I'm here, but we'll have Trustee Lee do it just in case my voice goes.
Thank you very much. Trustee Lee.
The Board of Education of School District Number 68, Nanaimo Ladysmith, approved the school district statement of financial information SOFI report as presented for the year ending June 30th, 2022.
Do we have a seconder? Trustee Robinson, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Down to 11.2 prom ceremonies. Please, yeah, Mr. Walsh, if you wouldn't mind introducing.
Thank you, Chair. I just take a moment just because folks will not recognize typically an item from the business committee that doesn't have a recommendation associated with it. And so just as a reminder to trustees and to the public, the board had this as an item of discussion at the board or at the business committee meeting. Needed to get a little bit more information, which has subsequently occurred. And so put the item here, not with any specific action associated with it, but the discussion to conclude. And so that's why you see it as it stands. Additionally, the board correspondence from November was moved to the business committee because it was associated with this item and brought back, assuming that that the item gets its discussion finished this evening, and again, associated with the correspondence that was just moved from 11.1 to 12.2.
Thank you. Thank you, Secretary Treasurer Walsh. So maybe what we'll do is if anyone would like to start discussion or questions, I'll open the floor. Trustee Morvay.
That's what we. Apologies, I will remember one day. Thank you. My thoughts are still only half formed. I'm still sort of like mulling over a lot of the information we received. And I think that hearing a little bit more of the history sort of behind the decision from the district and the past, I think could help me sort of like understand better and sort of make kind of a decision in my head sort of thing. If through you, the chair, if the superintendent or secretary treasurer would like to kind of give us sort of a bit of a backgrounder on why this was sort of the proms not being done in our district for the past while. So if we could get that, that'd be great.
Mark or Scott, would you like to take that?
Let's start. Sorry, you start.
Sure, and so thank you through the chair. So I think I could point to three areas just to begin with. I'm sure the superintendent has a deeper background than I do. So as I understand it, the reason that the board went away from organizing or frankly having any involvement or association with proms as they stand is threefold. One, liability. Two is staff resources. And three is reputational risk. And so from a liability perspective, again, I think that we can talk in generalities here, but of course the idea of running proms, given their not always, but often connection to before, after events and behaviors, etc., and the worry of alcohol use, creating problems, and the board being associated with that. No matter what steps we take, we still potentially would attach ourselves to liability, is the kind of most upfront reason why that ceased. The second one, of course, is though staff participation. And so when we as the district were running these events, staff, did a marvelous job, but that is a lot to ask of a staff, and of course parents participated, etc. But that, of course, is not something that we can necessarily rely on. And I think that dynamic is probably continued to this day. And then the last one is reputational risk. And again, I can't speak to whether, how inclusive that they would have been in the past, but certainly the concern that those after parties, those events, those wine and cheese, the things we hear about but aren't district organized, but then kind of get attached to prom, I think are the kind of three drivers to that decision. But again, maybe the superintendent has some more specific.
No, thank you. Through you, Chair. You did such a nice job, Mark. I have nothing more to add. Of course, everyone in this room has inherited this decision that was made about 10 years ago, maybe a little more, and then slowly all of the secondary schools came online. And really, as Mark mentioned, it was instigated due to staffs trying to prevent risk and possible litigation.
Would you like to follow up, Trustee Morvay? Thank you. So I'll move down along the list to Trustee Robinson, and then I have Trustee Brzovic.
Thank you, Chair. Question and a comment and a question. Sometimes we see a fire, we want to put it out right away, and we sometimes in our zealousness tend to call out the fire brigade from 20 communities and take half the ocean to put it out. I think this is the case. My question to staff, I'm largely satisfied that we can find a happy way moving forward. So parents are satisfied, students are satisfied, and the legal risks are minified. That's not a word, but I'll make it up. Minified. I think everyone knows what I mean. Through you, Chair, to staff, or maybe Chair could answer this question. If we were to change our policy on this, this would go through the policy committee. That'd be the most appropriate way. Is that correct?
Take that.
Well, I guess what I would say is that the way the policy stands right now is the superintendent has the delegated authority kind of as a risk management issue. This is a fairly operational decision. I know it's got a lot of public connotations, so I wouldn't necessarily have a recommendation exactly how that would look. Policy committee would be appropriate, and then an administrative procedure that addresses it probably would attach if that was a board priority. So that would be one appropriate mechanism.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. I have a motion at the end when questions are. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
We'll move on to Trustee Brzovic.
Thank you. I'll start with my question through the chair to Mr. Walsh or Mr. Sable, whoever is most appropriate. And I hope my voice holds out. If the board were to say, we'd like a compromise here of not having staff actually running prom, but at least allowing, say, posters in the school so that kids could know how to sign up for prom. And I'm just throwing something out. Do you need that tonight, or would January be enough time to get that information out to schools that prom committees could do some advertising, say through newsletters or whatever, as long as it was clear that it was not a school event?
I'm sorry, was a question around timing?
Yeah,
When we
timing.
could-
How much time would it? Yeah. Like, are we do we have to make this decision? If the board were to make a decision to say we want to at least support allowing advertising in schools or whatever, do we have to decide that tonight, or would holding off until January be okay? Is that enough? You know, I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice here. Like, I guess I can't remember when prom is. Is it in April or March or?
Yeah, so if I could, through you, Chair, there would be no great harm in waiting to January to make a decision. Parent prom committees are starting that work presently, and planning for the prom and doing some fundraising. It's quite a lengthy preparation period for sure, but you wouldn't do much harm by saving that decision until January, if that was my answer to that.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Anyone else before I go?
Thank you. Through the chair, just so that I'm clear, because what I heard earlier was that even if in some capacity the district is willing to allow a poster or allow a car wash or something on school property, the school district is not willing to accept responsibility, liability for giving out a listserv list to parents. Because of FIPA, that is something that we are just not able to do. Is that correct?
So through you, Chair. So we, with respect to freedom of information and protection of privacy obligations, we are obviously covered by FIPA, and so covers the collection, use, and disclosure of personal information. And so in the case where we have an event so not associated with the district or the kind of functions of the district, so it's not the reason we collected the information to provide education, to communicate with parents, to do those things. We would not be in the position to share a student or a parent list with a third party unaffiliated with the school district.
Like a follow-up?
More of just a comment. To me, it seems like that is primarily the point that parents are trying to get, is they want access to a list so that they can include that to a certain extent. So I think that you know, if we can even entertain this at any bit, that needs to be made clear that that's not an option. That is going to be.
Thank you. So I guess I'll. You spoke yet? No, you haven't spoke yet. So I have a comment, but if you want to go first, I'll go last.
Make the comment to Leanne. I think it's mainly just about how do they correspond with families? How can they give that information to families? And the way that I understand it is that there's absolutely no way for them to communicate that out to families at all as it stands now. So it's really about what are the options to communicate that out that could be facilitated by the district. I mean, there's so many layers that I'm seeing here in regards to prom and you know, how far would the district be able to go in supporting a prom in any way, right? So starting from the communication of this event actually even happening to advertising in the schools, to contacting families, which was what you had asked, and using that information for a different purpose other than what they had agreed upon. And I'm seeing kind of like a lot of different levels that the district could go. And I think it would behoove us to kind of like maybe discuss what kind of different options there are to providing sort of that space to a certain degree, or that means of communication, but also understanding that there's liabilities involved and how much risk and stuff like that are involved with what could perhaps happen in the future. So.
Thank you. So I want to just say a couple of things here. It's important for the board to keep in mind, you know, we all want to do something, as Mark had said, put the fires out. But I think we have to keep in mind that it's important that the structures we have in our system, our policies and procedures, to guide our oversight and to guide staff. So I think it's important to consider that if the board wants to go down this road, that we do it in the right way with a policy, with an admin procedure to provide that consistency of oversight and across the district. So, and you know, Chantel, you had mentioned, or Trustee Morvay had mentioned, wanting to talk about some details, and that would be your opportunity to do it in a more formal way. So I wouldn't be ready to move forward with any kind of change until we got to that point personally. But I'll leave it at that. Tanya, would you like to speak?
Not at this point. I'll wait and I had heard there was a motion that might be coming. I agree with you that I think we need to ponder this a bit so we get really clear on the best path forward. I guess I'll say one thing. I'll be honest that there was a point where I was ready to make this a hill I wanted to die on, to the point of saying we never should have stopped doing prom, because I was part of it in 99, 2000, 2001, and it was great. I see now the other side. I still want to find a compromise that will allow kids to have an easier way of knowing what's happening, because one of the things that we talk about in our operational plan is kids having at least a couple of people that they feel care about them. Well, for marginalized kids, some of these marginalized kids, prom may be the one big fancy event they get to go to. And it's our marginalized kids who have the hardest time getting the information. Prom closets make a big difference, and schools have played a big part in supporting prom closets. So I guess I'm just gently asking, let's figure out some kind of compromise here so that we're not necessarily asking staff to take over doing prom again, but at least figuring out some way for kids who might have families who might have difficulty and might not have the family support to at least know when the event is and be able to get to it and get signed up for it. We're making it too complicated. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you. Any other comments? Trustee Rookaby?
Yeah, I'm trying to come down one way or the other on this, and I'm not sure I'm there yet. I'd like to get more information as well, but it seems to me that whenever we ignore one of these situations, we cover our own legal liability, but I'm not sure that we're doing our duty in terms of creating an inclusive community. And that seems to be where these issues fall down. I'm wondering, you know, is there any ability through grad transitions to identify these students without compromising, you know, our role as guardians of personal information? But I'll leave that to staff. I guess my concern really is when we decide to just not do something. Yes, we cover our own legal and liability, but we absolutely turn our back on our goals of inclusivity. And I think that's what most of these parent groups are finding is there's no way to create an inclusive event without our help. So I think that's the challenge in front of staff is that it's not good enough to just pretend something isn't happening. You know, it's not sitting comfortably with me that we're going to allow a non-inclusive event to perpetuate just because we won't get involved. I think we need to do something. Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Robinson?
Thank you, Chair. Trustee Rokeby spoke eloquently on the inclusive factor, and this is a large portion of what has motivated parents to reach out. It's motivated parents to say, hey, we have students in the district right now that cannot afford prom. They can't afford these very, very important rite of passage right at the end of all of schooling for public school. And it's happened, and I don't want to see it happen again. And for that reason, I would like to make a motion on this, and that is in the spirit of what Chair Keller mentioned with regards to process, proper protocol, proper policy, and the motion would read something along the lines of this, where that we refer this issue to the policy committee, that they can have a look at it. Maybe they can come up with something that can deal with the inclusivity so that parents can reach out to all students and all parents, some mechanism where there's an opportunity for all students that can't afford this to be able to participate and not be left out. So that is my motion to move it to the policy committee for their consideration. And maybe they can bring something back to the board in a timely manner that we can tackle. They can do some of the heavy lifting.
Thank you, Mark. So I just want to make sure that Karen got the gist of that motion before we ask for a seconder.
Are we referring it to policy?
Yes.
With inclusiveness in.
Okay. Does everyone understand the motion? Can I get a seconder? Trustee Morvay, would you like to motivate the motion? Sorry, Trustee Robinson, you moved it.
I'll motivate it briefly. The reason for the motion is because Trustee Brzovic mentioned that it seems that we are getting a little too swamped down in this, and we are, and she's not wrong. We are really having a hard time grasping this. I think that if we need to get down to the committee level, let them do some of the heavy lifting on this, so we can have a recommendation back and we can approve it or we cannot approve it. It's not saying that we support one thing or the other. It's not saying that we want to accept more or less liability. It's just to show that we've done the work. So we can look back at the report and say, yeah, something's been done about it. Then we can make a better and informed decision. And I think that's a better place for it. And I'm just taking the advice from other more seasoned trustees on that. That's why I made the motion. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, any discussion? Trustee Morvay?
Yeah, I'd like to support that. I had actually written a motion as well, basically along those lines. Being on the policy committee, though, thanks for the extra work, Mark. But this would actually go to staff first, and then that would be looked at and then brought to the committee. You know, having had a prom when I was a teenager, it was run through the school. It was very small, sort of small actually. We had quite a lot of graduating people there, but we had it. I got to experience it. It was a really great rite of passage, and it was done in a manner that was safe and equitable for everybody. However, in our climate, that was run all through staff, right? So there was a lot of staff involvement. We know that in this climate nowadays, staff really, we are very short staffed, period, across the province. It would be lovely to have that sort of, historical way of doing it. Obviously, that's not the case anymore, and liabilities have changed, and insurance companies have changed as well. I'm excited to see this, and I think that we could come to a place where, like you said, we could have more of a compromise, more of a consensus to make this kind of event extremely much more equitable, much more inclusive, as these families would like to have, which is really awesome. And it's a great event for students when they're leaving. The past couple of years with COVID, I mean, nothing really got to happen very much at all. And it's kind of hard. I've heard from a lot of people who graduated who said, this is like sort of like, okay, there you go, bye. I would just love to see something that could really honor that big moment in everybody's lives.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have Trustee Brzovic who'd like to comment.
Thank you. I will support this motion. I would just caution the board and the policy committee, or that I think it's important that I guess I'm gently requesting that this be moved up a bit to an immediate item for the policy committee, because this year, I mean, I know I appreciate what Mr. Saywell said. If we're going to go ahead and do some kind of this year's prom, it does have to get out to families, I think, for February-ish, so that the kids who need the help, because we are talking about inclusivity, and the kids who need adults from the community to show that they care about them, because maybe they're not able to get those supports at home. Things like prom closet again come up, and you need time to get something like that going and to get the word out about something like that. So just keep that in mind as we move forward with this, because I would really hate to see another year go by where we haven't addressed this problem.
Thank you, Trustee Brzovic. Any other comments or discussion? Seeing none, I'll go back. Trustee Robinson, did you have a question, or you like me to?
No, sorry.
Okay. Looks okay. I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. So before we move on, we do have 2 pieces of correspondence related to this item, and I would welcome a motion directing the chair to provide a response to both of those pieces of correspondence so that we don't leave them hanging. Anyone
I would move that, Chair.
Well, we need to do them individually, please.
Okay.
Anyone want to take a step? Well, we have Tanya. Did I miss that?
Yep, I can do
Okay.
that.
Please.
I move that the board direct the chair to send letters of response to both letter writers regarding prom.
I think we got that the motion is that the chair send a response letter to both C. Blood and K. Berg with respect to prom. Thank you. Do we have a seconder? I'm not sure who came first, but I'll go with Trustee Rokeby. Thank you. Would you like to motivate the motion at all, Tanya?
Just, I think that we've had some good conversations on this. I think we're on the right track. And I think it's important that we let these letter writers know as quickly as possible that we are aware of the concern and we are working on it as to the best of our ability as quickly as we can.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Don't see any. I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to item 11.3, the Education Committee. Someone like to move that motion? Trustee Robinson?
I withdraw that. I think the vice chair of the education committee should do that.
Fair enough. Trustee Morvay?
Okay, so it's actually work from the calendar committee that brought it to the education committee. So I will give kudos to the calendar committee for doing a lot of hard work on that. It cannot be easy choosing all of those dates and everything. So I will read out the motion. The education committee recommends that the Board of Education of School District number 68, and I'm Ladysmith, make the attached 3-year draft local school calendar for 2023, 2024, 2024, 2025, and 2025, 2026 available to the public for 30 days, utilizing the consultation process as per board governance section 1, 2.17, and to report back at their February Education Committee meeting with recommendations.
Thank you. Seconded by Trustee Robinson. Would you like to motivate the motion, Trustee Morvay?
Self-explanatory, but I want to congratulate again the calendar committee for doing that hard work.
Thank you. Any discussion? Or sorry, do we have a seconder? Good work, Trustee Robinson, seconded motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving on in our agenda, there's no senior staff reports or unfinished business. So we'll move on to new business under item 14.1. We have a motion that's being proposed by Trustee Lee.
Thank you through the chair. So this is just regarding advocacy letter RE funding for NDSS. So the motion reads that the Board of Education of School District number 68, Nanaimo Ladysmith, direct the board chair to write a letter of funding advocacy to the Minister of Education and Childcare and the Minister of Finance that highlights the commitment of the newly elected Board of Education to collaborate with both ministries on a plan to replace Nanaimo District Secondary School, and that that letter be copied to local MLAs.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Trustee Morvay, would you like to motivate the motion?
Yes, please. Thanks through the chair. I think that we're all aware, as is every single person in our community, that NDSS needs to be replaced, and it's needed to be replaced for a significant number of years. I think that this is a great opportunity now that we have a new board to let the ministry know that we are committed to this big project and continue to be committed. I think it's also a great way to introduce our request to the new Minister of Education and Childcare, Rachna Singh. I think that this letter will bring it to the forefront of her, to the forefront of her agenda, so that she can review all of the previous requests and hopefully just take it to the top of the list.
Thank you.
For once and for all.
Trustee Morvay.
And the motion. And I know this is kind of like maybe too repetitive, but I'd like to make it clear in this motion. So can I tell you what my amendment would be?
Yep.
If I can
Go ahead.
put it on the floor, that the Board of Education of School District number 68, and I'm Ladysmith, direct the board chair to write a letter of funding advocacy to the new Minister of Education, Rachna Singh, and Minister of Education and Childcare, Rachna Singh, and the new Minister of Finance, Katrine Conroy, that highlights the commitment of the newly elected Board of Education to collaborate with both ministries on a plan to replace Nanaimo District Secondary School, and that the letter be copied to local MLAs. And just to highlight the fact that we have two.
Oh, hold on.
Oh.
Needs a seconder.
Sorry.
Trustee Robinson? Okay, I'll come back to you.
No problem.
You can motivate
No, we
your
can
amendment.
motivate. Okay, great. To motivate that, I just wanted to highlight the fact that we're a new board, but there are also new ministers, and we really need to kind of let people know that we're all new, and we really want to bring that message forward a lot more. So it's just highlighting and supporting that.
Okay, thank you. So we have an amendment that's been seconded on the floor. Any discussion on the amendment? Trustee Rokeby.
Yeah, I really like the amendment. I think this was a good idea when trustee Lee brought it forward, and I think just updating the language that trustee Moray brings to us just makes it all the more appropriate. So thank you for both of your work.
Any other discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, I'll call the question on the amendment to the motion. All in favor? Carried. Okay, so now we're going to go back to what's now an amended motion. And I had trustee Robinson on my list, I believe. Are you still wanting to be on the list to speak to the motion as amended?
I do not. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments, discussion on the amended motion?
My pardon. I do have.
Trustee Robinson?
I apologize, Chair. I do remember my question. Through you to staff, when we send these letters, and this might sound a bit silly, but do we just send it by regular mail or do we courier it to get it there faster?
Thanks. Good question. Mr. Walsh?
Typically, the letter is PDF'd and sent via email to.
Thank you. Okay. Any other comments or questions on the amended motion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks for your work on this, Trustee Lee. Moving on for information, we have the board motion report on item 15.1 and trustee committee reports as item 15.2. They're there for information. Are there any questions this evening? I believe we do have any questions. No. Thank you. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by trustee Lee and seconded by trustee Robinson. All in favor? Adjourn. Thank you.
Reminder that we're going to get back into close.
Not off the hook quite yet. Sorry.